Here's another segment and some daily exercises that you can engage in to help fix yourself. You know, you have to lift weights weekly to get stronger. And when you don't lift weights, you get weaker. Your leg attack you'll lose it, right? If you're a great leg rider, which is our main thing we're known for. I actually just sent my leg riding DVDs to a Division I wrestling coach because they're like, dude, your leg riders are awesome. He probably didn't learn much, but just compartmentalizing. You know, a big thing about a system is this. When you have a system, let's say a weightlifting program that's put together by a pro, the pro is going to say, what sport are you in? Then here's your program. It will probably be broken down again for in-season, post-season, pre-season, right? Now, when you take that plan and you go into a big, giant weightlifting facility like a Gold's Gym or something, you're not going to touch probably 98% of the equipment in there. So a plan or a system that tells you what to do is by default telling you what not to do. And that's the reason we are so system focused as far as, you know, our beginners program, our, we call phase 1 program, our phase 2 program, our phase 3, right? Well, once you have a system in place, it's something to drill, or it's a weight routine to do day after day, at least 2 to 4 days a week, year round. Well, how come we don't have any mental drills? So if you're an athlete who struggles, you should every day, sometimes 2 or 3 times a day, read through, just write down 2 to 10 things that will help you. Now, what do you write down? Oh, dream like you're the best and it will magically be attracted to you. No, right? How about this? You need to write down, here's the things that are, this is the reasons my head's all jacked up. Okay, write that down on a piece of paper. Then start listing. I worry about my weight at night and I don't sleep the night before a tournament. All right, that could be one. When I have an opponent that I know is good, I don't wrestle that well. If I wrestle someone who I don't know, I wrestle great. That's really common. I'm like a weirdo. I was opposite. If it was an amazing opponent, it was like, it kind of like angered me. I'm like, okay, boy, let's go, you know? But if I had a good opponent that I knew was capable, but I didn't know much about, I don't know why, but I had issues, right? I didn't work through anything. Everyone has issues, right? This is the thing. Even Kyle Schneider, he has self-doubts. He was Olympic champions and stuff, right? I had 2 Olympic champions as coaches in college, and another guy who went on, workout partner, went on to be an Olympic champ. And I know they all had issues, right? Kendall Cross was an Olympic champ. He was at Oklahoma State when I was there. I've seen him get teched twice in college, teched, right? Because his head wasn't in it. But he fixed it. Now he's an Olympic champ for the rest of his life. Great guy too, right? If you ever get a chance to go to a Kendall Cross clinic, go. He's just a great dude, and I mean, just a, you know, he's a icon in the sport. But we all have issues that some people work through it, some don't. No one had a good single leg when they started, but some worked through it and some didn't. Sure, there's a few oddballs out there who have good footwork or who are very powerful. Most of us are not. So we have to drill a lot of reps so that our footwork improves. We have to hit the weight room, right? But the operative word is drill. So I'm telling you, you need to drill your, I call them mantras, right? Everyone's are different. Some athletes need, you know, coaches say, have fun out there. That works for some of you. I hope it does. Now you know. If it doesn't, like, I don't want to have fun. I want to win. So that doesn't work for you. So what does work for you, right? So when you write down your issues, number 1, these are examples. The weight thing, can't sleep at night, I worry. Okay. So I need to make sure I really, after the school, now hopefully my parents will get me a nice scale, like a good one, right? And that's on a weight loss video here. You should have an amazing scale. Go ahead and buy a $400 scale. Skip a tournament and buy a nice scale. Get a heater, get a place to cut weight, get an exercise bike, get a jump rope, right? You need a place to cut weight and to know. But let's just pretend that you don't have that. So make sure after school, when you know exactly what your weight is, be disciplined. Don't sip water, don't do anything. Go home and you can get those little scales, right? Food scales. Weigh out everything that you're gonna eat. Weigh out the water. You can know, 8 ounces is a half a pound. Don't sip anything outside of that. See, now you'll know exactly what you weigh. So now you're like, dude, this is great advice, Nick. You are wicked smart. No, it's common sense. You just have to take time to do it. So now when you go to bed, you know exactly what you weigh because you've weighed everything. Just whenever you nibble on this, sip on that, you're making a little bit of dinner. You know you can't eat too much because weigh-ins are tomorrow or the day after. You eat a carrot or a bite of this, and your sister has a cookie, you take a bite of that. No, you can't do that. So just through discipline, you can say, man, now I can sleep at night. How about, what if you worry about your opponents, right? So you need to work through that issue. What about you have doubts in a big match because of the crowd, right? So now, you might need to Google some answers here and know how to speak in public, right? How to speak in public is no different than wrestling in public, right? It gets easier. I seriously wanted to give some advice through this iPhone. I used to turn the iPhone on the bottom of the desk and talk into it. All right, that's why the screen was black. I was like, I couldn't talk into a phone. Now I don't care. It gets easier, right? So if you want to speak in public, you want to wrestle in a big crowd at a big tournament. Maybe you want to study how to public speaking tactics, right? I know when I was in high school, our coach said, "Don't look up, don't look at the crowd." I did the opposite. My sophomore year, our freshman year, I was too little. I couldn't even wrestle in high school. I weighed 80 pounds, all right? I'm not that little now. 5'5", 150. Still little, but not like puny. I was a puny little guy, right? All the girls were after me. No, so, but my sophomore year, I went to that state tournament, and I was still a couple pounds under. I did the opposite. I looked up and looked around. And then I stood on every single mat because I didn't know what mat I was going to wrestle on. Then I knew the class 3 mats were in the middle of the gym. And I stood in the middle of the gym and I stood on the red line. And I stood on the green line. And I thought, my plans to make the state finals. And I plan on standing right here. This is the view I'm going to have when I'm in the state finals. So I just did the opposite. That's a good tactic, right? So once you write down, these are the things that have my head all jacked up and my emotions out of whack. Maybe you have a hard time with energy at a tournament, right? You write that down. That's another one. And once you go through those, now take that piece of paper and read it. Take a Xerox it. Put one at school on your notebook. Read it before every class. That's 7 times a day. Put one by your bed. You read that before bed. You read it when you get up. You might put it by your on your tape 1 copy to your bathroom mirror. Now in the morning when you're getting ready and at night before you go to bed, you read it again. So now that's 10, 12 times a day possibly. You're reading you're drilling, right? It's like drilling a single leg. You're drilling yourself out of this funk because you can flood it out, right? Just like a glass of soda in a glass, you put it in a sink and you run water in it, you'll eventually flush that soda out. Then it's pure water. There's certain kinds of grass when it grows, all grass actually, it will choke out weeds. So people who have a healthy lawn, they don't have to put so much weed killer on it because the grass chokes it all out. So you can flush out these negative thoughts and these scary issues, these hurdles. You're stubbing your toe on the same thing day after day after day. So you want to remove those obstacles so you don't stub your toe anymore, right? Don't ignore them. Deal with them head on, right? And some of your issues may not be something that I can help you with, right? But you can find it, or sometimes just thinking it through on your own. I know this, when you're really kind of uptight about it, I'll tell you two things, then I'll go. You know, if you're uptight about a big match, the best thing you can do is say, why am I uptight about this match? Oh, my opponent's really fast. Okay, well, my opponent leads his right leg. I know he shoots from the outside. He's really fast. What if I keep my hands low to the mat? I keep my head lower than yours. This is one of our camp rules. My head's lower than yours, so you get hit because I can snap you, right? Because I will never, ever concede head position, right? So I keep my head lower than yours. My hands are low to the mat. I'm always circling to the back leg. That's Wrestling 101, right? You circle to my front leg. When I'm in a staggered stance, I can drop and explode into you like a track runner, right? Just think of a track runner is getting ready for the Olympics. But instead, when the gun goes off, instead of going forward, their right leg is forward, their left leg is back. They had to turn and go to their left. That would be hard. They would have to move their trail leg around. So circling to the back leg. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to keep my head low. I'm circling to the back leg and getting my tie up. I think I'm going to focus on a collar tie underhook. That way I can keep this dude tied up. Man, that's a good idea. So now I'm not worried anymore about that. I still got to watch it, but I'm not really scared anymore. Okay. My opponent starts on the left side, right? And that causes me issues. All right. Okay. So maybe you might drill from the left. Maybe if you have a few days to get ready, you might let your live wrestling partner start on your right arm, which is a lefty starting position on top. You get familiar from there. Sure, you're never going to feel like an expert, but I feel good about it now, right? We call that study for the test. It's called creating a game plan, right? So you just sit down. But that's what you do in a match. But whatever scares you about the sport of wrestling, or maybe self-doubt. I know this weekend we had a girl, she's was second at Tulsa, a great wrestler. And Lexus, she's a sixth grader. And she told me before a match, so if she wins, she gets to go for third. And if she won that, she got the challenge for second, which she did, and she got second. She's like, hey, Coach Nick, I'm really nervous. I go, well, you're supposed to be, right? If you win this match, you place at Tulsa Nationals, right? Being nervous is always going to be there. Even the famous wrestlers get nervous. The famous performers, the singers and stuff get nervous, right? So don't pay a lot of attention to it. It's kind of like an annoying friend. Let being nervous just hang out over there. So if you have an annoying, or maybe not even a friend, if there's someone in school that's annoying and you turn and pay attention to them, right? No. It's like when you're riding on an airplane and someone's behind you yapping, right? If you allow yourself to pay attention, it's like, the Indians thing says, you want to feed the big wolf, don't feed the scared wolf, or something like that, right? So you feed. You don't want to give that nervousness power. Just let that nervousness kind of hang out like an annoying classmate. That's always going to be there. Don't let it bother you. You focus on what? I got to score my first takedown. I have to get off bottom. Maybe review your game plan in your mind. There, your mind goes back here. You don't want to focus on these other issues. So that might be something that will help you. So you write that down. This is what I'm going to do when I'm super duper nervous before a match. I'm going to accept the fact that I'm going to be a little bit nervous, and I'm not going to let it bother me, because it is normal. Okay? I guarantee you a firefighter's nervous, an eye doctor is nervous. I've had a bunch of eye surgeries. an eye doctor is nervous, but they do what? They focus on, okay, well, you know, what are we gonna do with this patient? What do I have to do? Let's review what I gotta do. We're checking the vitals, whatever, you know, right? And then it's just, you just dive into what you have to do. So, you know, that's another piece of advice that you could use. But once you have a few pieces of your sticking points written down, and then you just go through them intellectually with some internal, just talking to yourself, what could I do? And then whatever answers you don't have, talk to your coach, talk to a teammate, right? Maybe you go online, listen to some YouTube stuff, like, oh, that makes sense. Now I write that in. Hopefully within about 1 or 2 days, you can have all of your issues that are messing up your mind written down, and now you read that over and over and over, and before you know it, it's like drilling a single leg. It starts to get very good. Now, if you don't, now after you get it perfected, you don't have to read it 7, 8 times, 10 times a day, but probably 3 times a week, 4 times a week. Anytime you feel like the anxiety's hitting again, you're gonna come back and say, what? Okay, I gotta read this, my info, you know, 4 or 5 times a day for the next 3 or 4 days. It's like, I gotta hit 1,000 reps on my single leg Monday, Wednesday, and Friday because I've lost a step, right? So you're constantly rededicating yourself, and your list, there's things you could scratch off. Then there's things you might want to add, right? Maybe as you get to be 17, 16 years old, now you're starting to stress out about college wrestling a little bit. You didn't have that on your list when you were 10, so you write that down. What can I do to ensure myself a college scholarship? Maybe you can contact me or Trevor Fegans at scholarshipsforwrestling.com. Well, how do I get a college wrestling scholarship? What tournaments do I need to go to? So now you're working through those anxieties. So I got to get my nephew. We're going to Purler Wrestling Elite. And I gotta go, but you get my drift here. Good luck to everyone.